Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are calling from. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Just Tell Us, a live where we bring in leaders who will tell us the tea on how they've quieted external noises while living their lives out loud and honoring their ancestral roots. So, for those who do not know me, my name is Jessica Araneta Velasco. You can call me Jess. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a second generation Filipina American facilitator, MC host, certified women's leadership coach, educator, many more, community manager, and many more. However, today I'm currently bringing my energy as a founder of Just Say It, helping first and second generation overachievers, people pleasers, free themselves from limiting beliefs so they can reintegrate peace, purpose, and play. So, if we haven't had the pleasure of meeting, please introduce yourself or even share where you're chiming in from today. So, when I'm not working in the business, I spend my time volunteering in local Miami organizations such as Ace Next Gen Miami and a nonprofit called We Met in Miami that solves for loneliness. So one day, y'all, I was volunteering at Vizcaya, and after registering 400 plus guests, I looked at today's guest and an instant flashback internally came up where my brain brought me back to this human being who I admired as a child back then during the Taekwondo school days. But what was most powerful was after reconnecting of similar stories, career trajectories, what was most powerful was the values alignment and the impact that's currently being made in this world. So today, we have the honor of chatting with Harry Lopez. Harry is a personal and professional success coach, conscientious expert, and entrepreneur. He writes, he speaks frequently on issues of personal and professional change, happiness, health, inspiration. He's inspired me, y'all. And the topic of mindful living and conscious business. You may have seen him working with clients from Google, BetterLike, BuzzFeed, Teach of America, and the list goes on. However, today we have the honor and privilege of listening to his journey and what's coming up for him in Miami. So without further ado, let me bring on Harry Lopez to the stage. Hi.
Hi. Oh, it's so good to see you.
Great to see you too. I really do mean it when I saw with that story though, when I saw you at the Gaia and I'm like, oh my God, I remember this human. And at the same time, the beauty about like growing up, right? But also being the adults that we are today. So we'll definitely dive into that.
I'm excited. Yeah, I loved seeing you at Vizcaya, and I'm like, first of all, I was just so like enthralled with your energy and like your gift and your light. I was like, who is this beautiful human with this $1,000,000 smile? And then it took me a moment. I was like, oh my God, Taekwondo, those days at ATA and Miami Lakes, and yeah.
And even Orlando during the ESPN, like
Oh yeah.
I remember you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Let's talk about our present and our the future that we are creating while honoring all the places and aspects of where our life has brought us today. So Harry, I'd love to bring in the topic of coaching. Let's start with the journey. Bring us back to the first person or group that you've ever coached and share the realization of the impact of this practice.
Okay. Want me to press live on the other
Oh,
platforms?
yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay. So I believe we're live there too.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay. Let me exit out there.
No worries.
All right. Hi, everybody. For those that are streaming, watching this, what a gift to be connected with you here. My name is Harry Lopez. I'm based here in Miami, Florida, born and raised, son of immigrants from Managua, Nicaragua. And I'm a full-time coach and entrepreneur. And to answer your question around how did I get started? First clients.
Yeah. Bring us back to that moment.
Yeah. So, okay, back in college, I interned at Google. So I was a bold intern in Mountain View, California. And I just had the summer of my life, like the best summer of my entire life. And one of my unofficial mentors when I was at Google in San Francisco was this woman named Eliana, who she's this just unforgettable woman, Latina, Mexican American, based from LA, and she ended up being the head of multicultural marketing at Google. So when I launched my coaching practice in I would say officially in 2017, but I was unofficially doing coaching for a while, for a couple of years, because I had started coaching with Teach for America, which we both joined.
I was a Teach for America, but I was a teacher and I had a lot of colleagues for Teach for America.
Oh, I don't know why I missed that. Okay, I thought you were TFA.
No, it's all good, but similar values and similar things. But
yeah, definitely. So when I launched my coaching practice in 2017, officially, I opened up my practice for paid clients. I just opened it up to my network, and one of the first humans that approached me about wanting to work with me was my mentor at the time at Google. So we had a conversation. She's like, I'm in. So she became my first paid client, unbeknownst to her probably at the time. And then that just kind of started the snowball effect where I was like, wow, people will pay for this. I didn't realize that, people will actually really invest in this. I was investing in it. I just didn't realize that other people would. I just thought I was a little, crazy like that. And I'll get to that, but I always invested in myself with coaching. Yeah. It was like a non-negotiable, it was like, I need this. Like, my parents are immigrants. Like, they only know this system so far, so much. And I only know this system so much. I want to learn from people who've gotten to where I want to be. So she was my first client. And then that's it. Like, I started working with a bunch of folks in tech, at Google, at Facebook, at the different tech companies in Silicon Valley. I started working with artists and influencers, and it just started that first year was just word of mouth. I didn't really have social media, marketing presence. I didn't know anything about that stuff. All I knew how to do was coach. Yeah. And I loved coaching. So that first year was just coaching my heart out, just holding space for people, like throwing out the rule book and just like throwing out how things are supposed to be done, and just holding people and seeing them in their greatness and allowing them to come into their own, and me just facilitating and holding space. So I didn't have the personal brand, didn't have, this huge practice. It was just kind of this underground thing that I was doing while I was still working my full-time tech job in San Francisco. So that's the thing I didn't mention, was that I was still working my 9-to-5 in tech. Yeah. And in the evenings and the weekends, I was closing my laptop and I was just getting on calls with people just for fun. And I freaking loved it. So I was just going one person at a time. I'd meet with one person and then refer me to somebody else. And then they would refer me to somebody else. And then the next person and the next person. And then what I found was that the people that I was working with or that were coming to me were mostly Latinos. So I put two and two together and I was like, what are the themes that I'm noticing here among all my clients? They're all badasses. They're all doing incredible work in the world, like so inspiring, but they don't know each other. They feel isolated. They feel like estranged, alienated from community. They want community. And so that's when I birthed, Launch Latinx, which is the coaching program movement that I was working on for many years and still working on. It's just iterated and evolved over the years, but that ended up being coaching programs for Latinos, and it was business accelerator programs, but at the root and heart of it, it was a self-worth accelerator. It's really about folks coming into the remembrance of their own worthiness, their own self-worth, and the love that they are, because we forget.
I want to so much unpack and go dive into that. Let's start with being a child of immigrants, right? And especially as being first, second gen, third, there's so much. We're very thankful, very, very, very thankful. And investing in ourselves can be quite difficult, especially when it's not a real education, or you shouldn't be doing this, or you should be saving. What was that moment was there any resistance first ever investing in yourself? And when was the moment where you had to really quiet off any external noises, or were there not any external noises about investing in yourself?
Such a great question. I think every single step of investing in myself, I always had resistance. Because I worked so hard for this. Like I worked so hard, right? That was always the story. Was that the working hard story of immigrants that was
Hard.
totally came to with I indoctrinated into me, but always had resistance to investing. But once I did it the first time, I could feel the changes happening in my life. I could see the differences. Like I really believed and bought into what we were doing, what we were co-creating in these sessions, like opening my mind to a new way of being. And I was, me from karate, I was always a child athlete. I always had coaches growing up. Always had people that were like revealing to me my blind spots. What are you not seeing that you don't know? Where do you need to improve? Where do you get to like shape up? Where like somebody who can be in my back corner believing in me, that I can come back to and be like, okay, coach, what do I do next? Okay, put me back in, coach. Okay, coach, give me some feedback, give me some pointers. What do I do next? And so when I went into this adult world, like I think we're kind of like a little bit on our own. We're like, our parents didn't go through this system. They didn't go through this. I know your family's from the Philippines, ¿verdad? Philippines, mine are from Nicaragua. So they never went through life here. They did life in their country. We're doing life together here at the same time, right? So they don't have these secrets, these tips, and these things that a lot of folks who are not immigrants tend to have. So investing in coaching was just like once I did it once, it's like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this. It works. It's going to help me. I'm an achiever. I want to grow. I really value growth. And I kept doing it and then I kept doing it. And I met this woman from Los Angeles while living in Miami. And she was like this big Instagram coach, right? Who had worked with Pak Chopra and, her background's in spiritual psychology. So I remember that I invested in one of her courses, which was an investment. And then I started working with her and I saw results. And then she opened up a live event to go to her house.
In Miami?
No, in LA.
Oh, in LA, yeah.
Yeah, in LA. So I bought a ticket. It was like $700 for a live event at her house in LA. I flew all the way to LA from Miami. I got myself a hotel. The day of the event, I kid you not, I almost did not go. I was about to sabotage, and I almost did. I was about to be like, you know what? F this. This is not for me. This is like for somebody else. This is not. What am I thinking? I'm crazy. I flew all the way here. I had bought a ticket. I bought my airfare. I bought my hotel. It was expensive, right? It's expensive.
I was gonna say, can we like put those quotations of expensive, right?
Expensive. Yeah. And here I am. I'm gonna go Uber all the way over to Santa Monica. Almost didn't go, and then something inside of me said, you're going. I went to her house. I drove. It was this gorgeous house. There was a production, like cameras everywhere, lights. There was a bunch of people. And I walk in and I'm quiet for the first couple of hours. And then I raise my hand and she's doing hot seat coaching, just going around. I'm next. I told her my story. That's it. She said to me, you're priceless. You got to stop doing this for free. You're charging now for your services. That was the beginning of my practice. After that weekend, I launched a quick website online. I put out my services online to my network, and I had paying clients. So I saw the power of the transformative power of community, of coaching, of live events, transformation, bringing people together, and being mentored by someone who is holding you so freaking high and seeing you in your greatness, not allowing you to buy into your own limitations and your fears, being unenrollable into whatever stories you've created. So I remember that being just a catalyst for so much growth. And then I just continued and continued. And I will say that since as of recent, I've stopped investing as much and just allowed myself to integrate. But after that experience, I invested more into business coaches. So I was deepening into the systems and the strategies and how to put together webinars and lead magnets and focusing more on that. Even though my heart really, really wanted to more so be investing in the spiritual my spiritual curriculum, which
Mm.
which came later.
It's one so powerful that you took. I don't want to say risk, because it at the time it was a risk, and
Yeah.
recognizing like that was the investment that you invested in yourself, and recognizing that you are priceless. We are priceless as humans. We are
Mm.
priceless because what we do is such a big impact. And yet, get ready for the yet, the external noises can actually come from our closest loved ones. And the reality is, those are the fears of their personal fears or their personal anxieties that come onto ours. So I'm curious to know, you mentioned community. Who was the community that kept bringing you up during that time of finding Harry Lopez's true voice?
That's a really good question. You know, immediately, just right now, I started
Mm,
thinking of folks that I've met along this journey of life.
mm,
And you know, I did a program at a social impact strategy program
mm,
for folks that wanted to work in nonprofits, social impact. And I remember that I made some friends in that program that we formed our own little mentorship accountability group for years. We would just get together for years, just folks, just random community, like-minded people, and we would form our own masterminds. So
mm.
that really has been um, definitely like the support that I've needed along this journey. But also, I will say, looking back, it's been so much just folks that I've never met.
Huh.
You know, it's like folks on
No,
social
can
media.
you actually add on to
Yeah,
that? Like,
absolutely. It's people that follow me on social media, friends on that we're connected on social media, even though we've never met, we cheer each other on and support each other constantly.
mm,
I think that there's not enough being said about that level of support that is so meaningful.
mm,
Um, I will also say that in as an entrepreneur, investing in these programs, in these masterminds, business programs, every single program that I've been in, I've made friends who've
mm.
very like-minded, who we've become running buddies for each other.
Yeah.
I can think of my friend Celia Kibler, who's a parenting coach, and she's like one of my besties. My friend Danny Diaz, who's the founder of Peak Life Now, he's a business coach and dad who does marathons and you know these incredible adventures. He lives in Phoenix. He's become another really deep friend, and these coaches, these mentors, and then also I will say that you know in honoring our teachers, um, these these just very insightful and deeply anointed spiritual teachers that I met along the way,
Mm,
who would not like me calling them teachers.
mm.
Yeah, but folks that have just shared so much life experience with me and wisdom.
Yeah. As former educators, I wonder, we don't need to go into that story of the system. However,
That's what you said there.
I'm keeping the smile on for a reason. And recognizing, though, that as a teaching and coaching are also synergized. However, it's the execution of it, right? Because as a coach, we never tell people what to do. We actually ask the right questions. And those are the best teachers. The best teachers are, and educators are the people who ask the right questions. So, my next question, actually, as you're going through this journey from spiritual to building the business, and we are going to talk about burnout in a minute. How did you create strong boundaries to protect your peace? Because I'm sure you're giving so much energy to people, not only during your 9 to 5, but during your weekend. So was there a moment where you didn't have boundaries and you were just keep going, going, going? Share us about that.
That's such a good question, and it's something that continuously I'm continuing to work on and waking up to. But yeah, I would say I had very leaky boundaries. I mean,
Mm,
I was a 20, okay, so Teach for America, I was 23, 24 when I started coaching teachers.
mm,
That's a very young age to be coaching adults who
yeah.
are much older. So that's, you know, I'm growing up very quickly there. And then starting your own business at 20, you know, 27, which is doable. It's normal. People are doing it more and more.
Mhm.
But it's a lot of responsibility, right? You're coaching, and then there's a fine line between being coach, mentor, friend,
Mm,
and you know like you're getting so intimate with people that
Mhm.
there's deep relationships that are being formed. So how do you create those boundaries and those distinctions, and how do you not energetically take on everything that you're feeling? So I think for me it was practice, just
Mm.
just practicing. And I think I really, really appreciate those days of practice coaching with Teach for America and
Mm.
education, because I just got so many hours of practice there.
Mm.
So then when I started my practice, I was able to create a very fine separation, like holding space for the deepest emotional releases that people were having in their lives,
Mm.
while not making it about me, while not taking on any of it myself, creating like a really nice like wall. Like one of my teachers, or she would call it like a screen. Like she would call it like a screen, like a, you know, when there's a door and there's like a
Yeah.
mosquito door screen kind of
Oh,
thing.
like a net, like the net doors that like you
Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can be like what I want to say is that I can be in it with people while not taking it on myself. Like really creating that separation. I think therapists are really good about those boundaries. So it was really helpful when I worked with this woman who from LA, because she was a really masterful coach, but she was a
Mm.
former therapist. And so
Oh.
she embodied boundaries with me, and I got to experience her boundaries. And it was helpful because it was very clear that we're not friends. She's my coach. I'm her coachee, whatever you want to call it. And
Yeah.
there was an arm's distance. So there's a different level of communication. There's a way of, you know, boundaries with work, boundaries with work-life balance. You know,
Mhm.
that's one thing that I really struggled with in the beginning, was creating those boundaries between work and life, because this work felt so meaningful. It is so meaningful that it was hard to create that distinction between, okay, when do I close this off? When do I
Mm.
stop working? Because it didn't feel like work. It just felt so, um, it felt like, I don't even have the words. You know what it feels
Impact.
like. It
Impact.
feels so impactful and rewarding, deeply rewarding.
Yeah.
Um, I would say that feedback is really powerful here too around boundaries, because I got feedback that my boundaries were leaky by one of my mentors
Oh,
once.
so I was
And
gonna
so,
say, where did you get that word from? Someone told you that your boundaries were leaky.
yeah,
Wow, who was this? I mean, with honoring this, without disclosing, was
yeah,
it this person saying like, "Harry, your boundaries are leaky," or was it like, what was
yes.
that like?
Oh yeah, in a moment of just, you know, an intervention that I was seeking, she gave me feedback that, you know, it seems like your boundaries are a bit leaky. We
Mm.
got to close them up and seal them up. Um, and um, and that was really helpful for me. So I got to do my own work on that, like really, really working on boundaries and creating some fine distinctions. I would say that one of the things, just vulnerably sharing here,
Yeah.
and I know that we're on Instagram too, so this was a big one on Instagram.
Mm.
I started putting my work out online when I first started at 27.
Mhm.
I was getting a lot of not people wanting to work with me, but wanting to date me or to flirt with.
Mhm.
So then that was an energetic boundary that I needed to create too. There
Yeah.
was something within me that was not creating like a distinction between, I'm a professional
Yeah.
here to, you know, I'm here doing work. I'm not necessarily here, you know, thirsting and doing that, which is what I was getting back. So life is just a mirror and just feedback. So just taking it neutrally. And what I ended up doing just transparently was, um, any opportunity. I was a little disheartened by that actually. The
Mm.
Just like on social media when I first started putting on my practice,
Yeah.
noticing that. But then I thought to myself, why not make this an opportunity to serve?
Mm.
So turning around any conversation and really just holding space for folks, like, what's coming up for you? Where are you at? Like what is most challenging you right now in this moment of your life? What are you wanting but you're not able to go after? And then seeing how I can support. And typically those folks I would just hold space for. And so I had to become very clear that in this moment of my life, I'm not open, I'm not available for any of that. um, and that was tough.
I
Yeah.
want to honor that sometimes coaching can feel like having a really good friend who is holding space for you, who is, um, yeah, not only holding space, but letting you share deepest parts and recognizing that it is a profession. It is a true profession. While boundaries are important, it's vital, it's crucial. And again, maybe being, I wonder now, I'm thinking even this for myself, being a child of immigrants, like people pleaser, right? Like making sure that everyone's okay and everyone feels seen and heard. However, we also need to, I mean, now I'm learning from you, Harry, we need to feel that resistance for ourselves. We need to feel those moments of, oh, I'm giving too much, or oh no, this is too much. But is anything, I'm going in like a tangent here. I'm trying to recognize, yeah, it's important.
Yeah, and this, I think one thing I want to communicate to folks is that, and you're so spot on with what you just shared, is that coaching, entrepreneurship, it's really the world of humaning. It's like it's the world of like shedding the egoic layers, the shadow frequency. It's the world of addressing the tough stuff.
Mm,
It's really that, and it's about helping people ultimately get to where they want to go. And a lot of getting people to go where they want to go is helping them, is supporting them in facing what they're unwilling to face,
mm,
and welcoming all the resistance that will inevitably come up as you begin to show up for yourself. And I will say transparently that I had resistance to even, I've never done a LinkedIn Live.
yeah,
This is my very first time. So of course there was stuff that was coming up, and it's innocent and it's normal. And there's for a lot of humans, one of the biggest fears that we have is the fear of being rejected.
yeah,
Ultimate at the root of it, right?
mhm,
Rooted in self-worth, rooted in the idea that you could ever be rejected.
yeah,
And so for me, it's really about tuning into the spiritual context of life. The
yeah,
soul of you. Could the soul of you ever be rejected? Never,
mm,
never. So it's playing this fine. It's like tapping into this beyond duality, the totality of our experience here. It's being in this physical plane, this physical world, but also tapping into the spiritual context, which is, yeah, in the physical realm here, as you can be rejected, people can judge you, people can make all assumptions about you. You're going to be a reflection of people's light and their shadows. People may not, they don't know your whole story, but just for the moment, they're going to create assumptions, because that's who we are. As humans, we're meaning making machines, we're judging, we're assessing, we're computing. We've become such a thinking race, such a thinking culture,
yeah,
and which is great because we're able to produce and create and build these incredible things in the world. But at the same time, if we're always thinking, we're not creating spaciousness and availability for magic,
mm,
for presence, for pausing, for peace, which is the beginning of beingness, which is what the medicine that a lot of us need, is more of a balance between the doing and the being, because we're just so conditioned to do and do. And
mm,
so many immigrants, especially children of immigrants like us, were
yep,
brought up just, let's freaking go. And we're just going and going and going. And we don't ever learn how to pause. And I think that's what the pandemic, the gift of the pandemic and COVID and all that was for us, was that a lot of us finally learned how to pause for the first time in our lives.
I was just going to ask, however, you just mentioned it. Let's pause for a moment and breathe in and breathe out everything that was just said.
Yeah.
welcome back.
Hi.
Hi, that was incredible, and I cannot wait to replay this. I was going to mention about burnout. However, it sounds as if, and challenge me if I'm wrong, a lot of the burnout, I wonder, and I know for myself, and I'm curious if this is similar or very different, that it was constantly giving and not having the boundaries.
Yeah. Do you want me to speak into my own experience with that?
Yeah, share if you'd like to. I definitely want to talk about what's coming up in your yogi.
Yeah, definitely.
It's what you want, Harry. This is what you
Yeah. Well, I didn't really know what was coming up for me until just 2 months ago.
Mm.
2 months ago, I did a sacred plant medicine journey with ayahuasca.
Mm.
Ayahuasca. I'll whisper it. We're talking about ayahuasca on LinkedIn.
It's spiritual. We honor spirituality here.
So, ayahuasca revealed to me that what I was experiencing over the last year and a half, maybe even 2 years, was extreme burnout. And I didn't know for a while what was coming up, but a year and a half ago, I packed up everything and I left on this trip I went to Dubai first, right, for this week-long leadership immersion. And then my best friend was in Thailand writing her book. She invited me to go with her. So I went to Chiang Mai, which is in the northern part of Thailand, one of the sacred cities. It's such a beautiful place. If you ever have the chance to go, you got to go to Chiang Mai. Chiang Mai, Thailand. So I went over there, like the first opportunity I could. I was like, I'm leaving, I'm going. I just needed a change, something different. And at this point I had been like working for a long time, just like program after program, coaching program, accelerator after accelerator. And we were growing and growing, especially during the pandemic. We grew a lot. We had like a whole team, and we had, big launches. We were bringing in like a lot of cash and profit, whatever, and helping a lot of Latino entrepreneurs do really great work in their lives. And so I got the opportunity to go to Thailand. I was supposed to go for 1 month. I fell in love with it. Jeez, what a magical place. And I ended up staying over there in Southeast Asia for 6 months. I spent 4 months there in Thailand, and I was just really just doing just being, just living. Like I did a silent meditation retreat. I was doing so much yoga, not in studios. I was doing it by myself. And it was the first time where I felt like, for me, like, my by then I was like 10 years of doing yoga and practicing in studios and stuff. But when I was in Thailand, it was the first time where I really came into my own with yoga, where I felt like it was no longer something I was doing. It was more so somebody I was becoming. And it's so fascinating. It's like in this moment, I don't know that I'm able to articulate it, the feeling of that, but it just became this knowing of like, this is who I am. This is part of me. And I got it. And it was like, it wasn't then that I felt this, but I now feel it. It's like something I must share. I feel that desire to be of contribution in this way. So anyway, burnout.
I was gonna say, I mean,
I know I had to give you a little bit of context, just like too. But yeah, I was like really just not really wanting to coach anymore. I didn't want to hold space for people. I didn't want to run a team. I didn't want to run a business. I didn't want to do any of it.
I don't blame you for that. Can we just say that, like, normalize that for whoever else is, like, other coaches who are listening, or even professionals? That's okay. That you don't have to, right?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I didn't want to do any of that anymore. I was like, okay, I gotta do me right now. I love this work. This work is so fulfilling. This is just insanely rewarding. Being right in the energy and the heart of transformation for people's lives is such a gift. But I was thinking, I was like, okay, what about me now? And there's not to say that you can't do both, like a both and like Harry doing Harry and Harry serving humanity and serving people in his community. My God, yes, always. I sensed that I needed really a time in the spaciousness to go deeply within. And that's what really Thailand was about for me, was going deeply within. So I stayed there for 6 months. I came back to the US afterwards. My mom, she came down with cancer. So that was really, really hard for me. And when I came back from Thailand, it was like, I almost didn't really know how to integrate back here. And people told me that this would be the case, but I didn't believe them. I was like, oh my God, that's you. That's never going to happen to me. I'm good. I got this. But I came back and I was like, oh my God, what am I doing here? How do I do this life again? How do I come back to this way of being? Like, go fast. Miami.
Period.
So I got back into the studios, the yoga studios. And then, okay, fast forward to recently, burnout. Ayahuasca, I think that what it did for me, and if you've done ayahuasca, you got it, you get it. If you haven't done ayahuasca, maybe, what I will say is that it was 2 nights ceremony. It resembles a Vipassana silent meditation retreat. It's like going into Buddhist meditation for like 2 full nights. They say it's like many years of therapy in one. And I got the opportunity to do it. And I'm open to deepening in my, practice and seeing what I need to see. So I did it open-hearted, and I saw so much.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of who I was before the burnout. In fact, not even just that, but it went back and rewired a lot of things that I never got as a child. For example, I was a competitive kid. So
Performing.
I was a performer.
Yeah.
I was a winner. I was taught to win as a kid. I didn't really have time. Like, there was a lot that I didn't get to do because of that. I didn't really ever get to just hang out with friends. I didn't do that often. I was always like competing. Like, I was always preparing for my next thing, or, like trying to like be, seek approval and love from family by being the best at things. So ayahuasca helped me rewire a lot of that and helped me see that we're all friends.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Harry.
Witnessing
you in action at Ahana, it was such a blessing and a gift. And for those in Miami, y'all, if you're in Miami, please attend 8 p.m. Ahana classes where Harry is leading.
Yes, please.
Yes, it is truly one of the best Eden classes I've ever attended. So it's magical, beautiful. Harry,
there.
You'll see me again. Don't worry. We're going to go into rapid fire soon. I'm going to ask you share what's going on in your life coming up. However, we recognize that being a leader nor entrepreneurship is not easy. Who or what inspires you to keep doing what you're doing?
Like spiritual teachers, like Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith of Agape Spiritual Center in LA. If you know Oracle Girl, she inspires me.
Oh, yes, I heard it.
Oracle Girl, her whole model around purification, and how she's been able to blend the spiritual and also the business realm. Just like live a very abundant life because doing this work that she does. I'm also deeply inspired by people who are deeply unassuming, who are not in the limelight and are not like, you don't even know who they are, but and they're like hippies, but they're just, they're so abundant and rich and intelligent. And they've been able to shed the layers of ego and which, we need ego. It's supportive at times, right? It's supportive and it helps us get by and do all that stuff. But it's people that have really deeply examined themselves and who are unafraid to be deeply honest with themselves and others. And I think that authenticity is the real currency of our time.
Period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Boom. You mentioned it earlier, the difficulties of actually going within, because those are very uncomfortable feelings. And for a lot of first and second gens, we were taught not to actually hold because that was like the survival, right? But recognizing, if anything, after hearing your story, you're sharing that we can move forward with those feelings and rewire what needs to be rewired.
Yeah. Because there's always yeah, we're taught to succeed, right? Like that's just, results and success and whatever. But then a lot of people get there and they're deeply unfulfilled at the same time. They're like, why? I
Yeah.
didn't get. I worked so hard. I did everything right the way I was told to do it. And
Ooh,
so many of us are like that. So many of us are like that, and then we get to that mountaintop or whatever, that idealistic. I've arrived, but
yeah.
have we ever really arrived?
Have,
No, like constantly becoming. We're like always on a journey of learning and growing and expanding, and we're in spiritual processes, one of remembering and forgetting. So we're gonna remember our power and then forget our power, and then that's what we need, really intentional, conscious communities of people that are gonna uplift us and hold us to that where we want to go and be, and who we say we want to be. But also the work, whatever the blocks are that are standing in the way of you and what you're desiring, it's seeing those blocks as not in the way. Those blocks are the way to the next level of fulfillment and freedom and vitality, prosperity, all that stuff. So it's really about just embracing and welcoming and seeing all of it as your teacher, and seeing all of it as a gift for us to just awaken, continue expanding here, and coming into love. And I think that no one is exempt from it. Everybody has their work to do. Even myself, my God, if people are watching this and hearing me think like, oh my God, he's so enlightened. No, absolutely not. I am very human. Don't forget, and I'm very vulnerable too. So I need communities of love around me.
Thank you for sharing that. And the ego, right? As beautiful as it is, recognizing when we need to shed parts of it just to constantly grow and evolve. So thank you, Harry, for that.
Yeah, and the ego thinks it's so like it's keeping you safe by it thinks it's doing the best for you by holding you safe, but actually it's the disservice because it's keeping you small.
Yeah.
It's thinking that, oh, if I don't share and they won't hurt me. It's like, no, if you don't share, you're like it's a disservice to the whole world, because people get to share, get to hear, and get to experience what you have to say and your lived experience, because it matters and you matter.
Yeah.
Your story matters.
Are you ready for rapid fire questions?
Yes.
They're quick 1 word or 1 sentence answers, and you cannot expand.
I know I have a tendency to go.
All good. No, all good. This is my favorite part of our Just Tell Us. My favorite meal to eat in Miami is.
Okay, so okay, I'm gonna keep it short. Nicaraguan food, el novillo.
What dish? What dish?
Churrasco.
Oh.
Churrasco con chimichurri, gallo pinto, y plátanos maduros. I feel like all the Latinos listening are be like, oof, I'm hungry now.
I am hungry, actually. That's why I'm like, I taste the garlic on the chimichurri. Okay. My favorite coaching question is,
by when? It's just so fun to ask that. It's like, okay, by when? Let's go.
By when? By when? Yeah. Your current or favorite grounding tool is?
Okay, right now.
Right now, at this moment.
It's preparing to teach yoga, like preparing for my classes. The process of preparing to teach a yoga class is so beautiful, because you're like a DJ and you're listening to all these songs and you're putting together playlists, and you're in a trance-like state. I'll speak for myself. I'm like meditating while I'm preparing for these classes. And so I'm listening to these dharma and these spiritual talks. It's so beautiful.
That is beautiful. Wow. Ooh. Alrighty. Ready for the last juicy one?
Yes.
If Harry can go back to the first year of his coaching career, what is one thing that you wish you could have said to a friend, manager, or loved one?
If I could go back to the first year as a coach?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were going to say, what would I say to myself now?
No, it's actually the opposite, because at Just Tell Us, sometimes we keep what we want to keep and we don't say the things that we want to say. So what is one thing that you wish you actually said?
To a manager or a friend?
Or a loved one, to anyone that you kept to yourself?
Such a good question.
It's juicy. I warned you.
Wow. And I didn't see this one in there. The notes.
It's juicy. It's bold. If you don't have an answer for it, you don't have to answer just yet. But I'm glad that you're thinking about it.
If I could go back then to speak to somebody then, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I've done that, what I want to say. But I
Oh.
think there's some people that I think in my own unconsciousness, I hurt some people that I didn't mean to hurt, but I just didn't know.
Yeah.
And I would apologize to them and I would say, I'm sorry that I was so focused on my work that I wasn't able to balance and give you what you needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very thoughtful and reflective of you.
Mm-hmm.
Sharing.
Especially that first year, I was like really focused on work. And it was really difficult to balance a lot of things.
So difficult.
Yeah.
Harry, thank you for your time, your energy. What a beautiful way to end that rapid fire. I know.
Wow, this has been so juicy. You really
I welcomed anything that came up. We didn't have to, but we're here, right?
So. Yeah.
Harry, what are you currently working on? What's currently happening? I'm elated for you to share what's going on because I'm elated to attend this.
I know. I love that you're coming. I'm so excited. Okay, so you guys, I'm working on a live event experience in Miami. It's 2 days in Miami of coaching mentorship. 2 full days. It's next weekend, August 17th and 18th. Remember that live event I talked about that changed my life? This will be very similar, actually. It's a live event, very intimate, about 12 to 16 people, 2 days, August 17th and 18th, Miami. It's called Step Into Your Bigness. It's all about really embodying your bigness. And really the bigness is really about being your beingness. So we're going to go deep. We're going to shed layers and do the unconscious, subconscious work, the reprogramming, going into nervous system regulation and getting really clear on what do you really want? Like, what do you really want here? Beyond what you were told that you're supposed to want, beyond what you think you're supposed to be doing and wanting, but like, what do you really, really yearn for that you don't even tell people about, that you haven't ever given yourself the chance to step into fully? And this is what this weekend is going to be about. And we're going to bring in all kinds of activities and games and modalities to support you in that. August 17th and 18th. If you have any more questions, you can find me on Instagram about it and ask me any questions, or go to my website, www.harrylewislopez.com, and you can find more information about it. Also, I teach yoga on Tuesdays at Ahana, 8 p.m. Yin. And then just find me and I'll send you where else I teach. I teach at other studios as well.
Harry, thank you so much. I cannot wait to share the show notes and also do all the clippings and just recognize that what a powerful conversation we had today as we move forward into this world.
So amazing. Thank you so much, Jess. What an honor to be here on Just Say It. I hope you all enjoyed this and will watch this and, send us some love and comments and feedback.
Amazing. Thank you all. Take care. Ending the